Good afternoon and welcome to the University of Suffolk Facebook Live. We're here today to talk about clearing and about starting university in the autumn. So I've got a few lovely colleagues with me. My name's Karen Hinton. I'm Head of Student Recruitment at the University of Suffolk. I'm on campus today, which is lovely because the sun's shining and the campus looks particularly lovely in the sunshine. Before I get everyone to introduce themselves, I just wanted to let you know how to ask questions. So please use the comments to ask us questions. We're live on a couple of different platforms today, so we're picking up questions from the different platforms. And we've also had some questions sent in to us already in preparation, so we'll pick up some of those questions as well. And thank you to everyone who sent us in questions in advance. So let's get these guys to introduce themselves to you. Dinah, would you like to go first?
Hello, my name's Dinah and I'm one of the admissions officers at the University of Suffolk, so looking after applicants from initial inquiry right through to enrolment, on offering guidance on every step of the way.
Great, thanks Dinah. I expect we're going to have a few questions for you this afternoon. Mariana.
Hello, my name is Mariana. I am a lecturer in education and childhood at the University of Suffolk, and I'm very excited to be here and talk about our childhood courses and answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Mariana. Nicole?
Hi, I'm Nicole Sloman. I am one of the children's nursing lecturers on the pre-registration children's nursing programme, and I'm also the admissions tutor for that course.
Great, thanks Nicole. We had a wee bit of up and down on your sound there, so hopefully that'll sort itself out as we go through, but I shall give you some waves if we're having problems as we go through. And Elliot.
Hi everyone, I'm Elliot. I'm a third year student. I've just finished and I've also worked as a student ambassador as well. And right now I'm helping Dinah and others with admissions. So I have a fair bit of knowledge about how admissions works now.
Pretty broad knowledge now. And Elliot, what was the degree that you've just completed?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I finished psychology and early childhood studies. So I've been doing some modules that Marianne, I think, is teaching or has a lot more information about.
Excellent, thanks Elliot. As we go on a bit later, we're definitely going to want to know more about what your plans are after you finish working on clearing over the summer. Okay, so we can't not talk about clearing first of all, because that's what's probably top of everybody's mind when it comes to questions about university. Dinah, is it possible for you firstly just to remind us what clearing actually is and how it generally works?
Yes, of course. So clearing is the last stage of the yearly UCAS cycle. So it's when universities advertise the courses that they still have places available for. And there are various ways that you would be in clearing to apply to a university course. It might be that you turn down the offers that you were offered in your normal cycle. It might be that you've changed your mind about what course you want to study or where. And it's also if you haven't yet applied to go to university this year, so you can come through clearing and give the university of your choice a call to see if they have spaces on the course that you're interested in. It runs from right at the beginning of July right up till just after the courses start. So it's not just about yesterday and the results day. So we're still taking lots of phone calls and having lots of queries about which courses are open and taking applications from people right through to the end of September.
So, yesterday was A-level results day. You just said it's not just about yesterday, but I think everybody often thinks that you just have to apply on A-level results day, and if you don't contact a university on that day, you're just not going to get a place. What's the reality when it comes to applying through clearing?
So there will be some courses that have closed, and those are always the professional courses with limited placements. So our health courses, some of the childhood with QTS, ones where you're going to go on placement, they have to have a capped number because there's only a certain number of places available. So not all of our health and professional courses are closed. We still do have places available on some of them. And as far as a lot of other courses are concerned, they don't close because there's no cap on the number of students that we can take. So if you're wanting to apply, I would say for a professional course, so nursing, one of the nursing branches, paramedics, high childhood with QTS, you would need to be looking to ring those universities very quickly, as soon as possible, because those places are limited.
Great, thanks, Dinah. Let's come over to Mariana then, because we've had a question already for you, Mariana. The courses that you're covering are still open and clearing, and we tend to keep getting late applications for the childhood courses. But Jane's asking what exactly you learn in a childhood course, and what kind of modules would you tend to study?
Yeah, thank you very much, Jane. Very good question. Primarily because our BA childhood courses at the moment are brand new. They're kind of a restructuring of the courses that we had with extra new lovely things. So as part of the BA childhood, you'll be able to learn lots from a variety of different disciplines around children, from a health perspective, from kind of societal, sociological perspective, psychological, around education. So in terms of module options, in your first year, you have a variety of modules from those fields: psychology, sociology, health, disability, education. Then in your second year, you can choose a pathway. We have 3 pathways. One of them is education, another is society and welfare, and another one is disability, health and well-being. So if you're interested in a particular area on childhood, you can pick a particular pathway, and that would reflect on the title of your degree at the end. So for example, you're more interested in disability, for example, you can choose the disability, health and well-being pathway, and then at the end, your degree will be BA childhood, disability, health and well-being. So that will be reflected on the title. If, on the other hand, you like a variety of different modules, you can mix and match. So you can take modules from education, the society and welfare pathway, and the disability pathway. And then at the end, your degree will be BA childhood. So you can have a really big range of modules there for that BA childhood course. So lots and lots of options, actually, in terms of modules.
And Mariana, tell me about the QTS option, which is, I think, come in for the first time this year.
Yes. So the BA childhood primary education with QTS shares the same first year as BA childhood, but it essentially is a different course. The BA childhood primary education with QTS is essentially an accelerated route to qualified teacher status. So if it's essentially for applicants who already know they would like to become primary school teachers. The requirements are a bit higher, primarily because it is an accelerated route. Instead of doing an undergraduate degree plus 1 more year of teacher training, you just do everything in 3 years. So it's quite a bit of requirement for placements throughout the year and in block placements, which is why it's slightly different from the BA childhood. It doesn't have the pathway options. It has specific modules focused on teaching and teacher training. And we're working on that one with Suffolk and Norfolk SCIT and North Essex teacher training. And that course, we'll still have spaces for that one. Not that many more, as we'll be closing for clearing a bit earlier for that course, mainly to prep everything in advance for placements. So, but yeah, it has similarities for the first year with the BA childhood, but beyond that, it's just a very different course, really focused on training to be a teacher.
Excellent, thank you. I'm going to come back to you a wee bit later to find out more about other options for being a teacher. Nice to hear from you, Stacey. It sounds like you're on that course, so it's lovely to have you watching. And I'll just quickly note that one of our questions from AC has come in about CAS letters. So CAS letters are for international students. AC, if you just contact the admissions team, just drop an email back to admissions and they can confirm what's happening in your specific circumstances. It's a difficult question to answer without knowing what your specific circumstances are and where you are in the process. Natasha, I think it was, asked about children's nursing and whether children's nursing is still open for clearing, because obviously, as Dinah was saying, some of our courses with placements are the ones that would tend to close a bit earlier. So Nicole, what's happening at the moment with children's nursing?
Hi, yeah, that's a great question. So at the moment, children's nursing is still open for a couple of last places. If anyone wants to apply, you'd be very, 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 very welcome. Very well received.
Excellent. Thanks, Nicole. I'm going to come back to you in a second, but we've had a couple of other questions that I'll just quickly answer. So one of our watchers is asking about whether we're going to keep places open for students in Ireland who won't get results until September. Just give us a call on the clearing hotline or submit the clearing inquiry on our website with as much information as you can. And we, depending on what it is that you're applying for, etc., we can have a chat with you about when your results will come in and basically what we can do next with that. Diana, is there anything else you can say on that one from an admissions perspective, or shall we go with that?
So from an admissions perspective, it helps that we have the common travel area agreement with Ireland, so we wouldn't be needing to worry about processing a visa. So that would be helpful. Our courses, so the inductions week commencing, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, are we the 20th?
I think so.
Yeah. So teaching week would be week commencing the 27th of September. So I think we had the same scenario with the Irish Leaving Certificate applicants last year, that they were going to get their grades later than normal. But as Karen just said, it will be sort of, it will depend quite a lot on the course you're wanting to start on and the course start date and how we would work that round for you. But do get in touch with us, if you're applying from Ireland and that's one of your concerns.
Exactly. To be honest, with a lot of questions like this about kind of when start dates are and what we can wait for, what qualifications we can hold waiting for, those kind of questions are definitely best contacting us directly about, so we can talk about your specific circumstances, because inevitably there's lots of students that are waiting for different results that come in at different times through the summer. It's not just about A-level and GCSE results. We know there's lots happening at this time of year. We had a question from Patsy about places in the halls of residence. So I'm going to answer that initially, and then I'm going to get Elliot to have a chat with us about accommodation. So yes, we do still have places available in the on-campus accommodation, which is called Athena Hall. It's literally, it sits basically between our teaching buildings on campus. We've normally got we've got 600 rooms there. There's still some available. So as you get your place confirmed at Suffolk, you should be booking your accommodation as soon as you can. We have got very limited availability in the off-campus accommodation, so it's most likely that you'll get a space in the on-campus accommodation, but contact us and have a chat, and we can discuss your options and what would suit you best. Elliot, you are not from Suffolk, so you have experienced moving to Suffolk, living in Suffolk for university. Can you tell us more about your experiences?
Well, it was definitely an experience, I will say that. Obviously, I had to travel more than 2,000 miles from home, so I was a bit anxious at the beginning, not knowing exactly where to go to buy food, not knowing the town. But at the beginning of like the induction week, obviously, I was able to talk with my academics and also have some time for myself to explore, so that was amazing. I stayed in the on-campus accommodation for 2 years, so I know Athena Hall quite well. So if there are any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer. And now I am living in a house share with four of my other friends who are doing different courses here at the uni. So it's great that I managed to make the friendships while I was in Athena Hall, and then just decide to rent a house, which is great.
Excellent. And what is it that you're planning on doing next?
So I applied for a master's because I was doing psychology. I said, okay, I wanted to really continue and pursue this like in the future. So I applied for a master's in clinical mental health because mental health is something that I'm really interested in. I think that I might be able to make a living out of. So yeah, I'm really excited for next year, and I don't know what the future holds, but at least I have a plan for the next year.
Excellent, brilliant. Thanks. Thank you very much, Elliot. We've had a question come in from Lisa, which is as to whether there's a counselling master's conversion course. Lisa, we've got a master's in cognitive behavioural therapy and counselling, which is a 2-year part-time degree. We've got quite a lot of detail about it on the website, including entry requirements and kind of experience and things that students have to have. We're also taking applications still for postgraduate courses through clearing, so please feel free to give the university a call to have a chat about it. And actually, just to note, postgrad is one of those things that people often don't think about in clearing. Lots of our postgraduate students actually apply through the summer because it's people who are out in work or who have just completed their undergraduate degree and are deciding what they want to do next. And the summer is a pretty important time for postgraduate students to get applications in. So if you are considering things like the Masters for Counselling, Masters in Psychology, we've got MBA, lots and lots of different options at postgrad, including ME Education, ME Childhood Studies, these kind of things, then please contact us. You can do that on the clearing hotline as well in order to do a postgraduate application at the moment. We've also had a question from Stacey about when timetables get released, which I feel like isn't so far off. Mariana, you're laughing. Let's see what your response is to timetable.
The reason that I'm laughing is that it's a question that all of our students are currently asking for. Second and third years will be starting, and they have been waiting for the timetable for a few months. And it's just always really difficult to say, like, even when we don't have it, it's like, we don't have yet the timetable, so I'd love to tell you, but I think usually timetables, it depends on what stage. So I think enrollment is starting at the moment for returning students, so second and third years, and I think do correct me, Dinah, if I've got it completely wrong, but I think timetables will be given when our for first year students, when their place is confirmed and they are invited for enrollment, which is a little bit later in August, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so enrollment went live today. So certain courses are being released for enrollment today. Some will be tomorrow and over the next week or so. So it's at that point that you'll receive an email containing a link for you to click on, and you complete the enrollment task in the applicant area. And then you'll have access to Brightspace, which is the virtual learning environment, and your timetable will appear in your University Student Outlook account as well. It will depend on which modules you're taking. So for example, if you're first year full-time student, you're probably taking all compulsory modules in your first semester. But if you're part-time or you're a continuing student, you might have some optional modules that you're going to select. So your timetable will also be dependent on modules. And if it's a large course, there might be groups as well. So the timetable is not generic for everybody, if that makes sense. But once you're enrolled, you will have access to that. And that is happening now. So you should have it soon if you've been waiting.
Thank you very much, Dinah and Mariana. Just a couple of other things that have come up. So Stacey, firstly, congratulations. You're saying that you're going to be a first year with us, so well done on getting your place at the University of Suffolk. We're looking forward to seeing you in the autumn. And Lisa, thanks just for letting us know what you're doing. So, I mean, with doing psychology, sociology, there's lots of different options. We also offer masters in research, which is a nice pathway into a PhD if you're thinking about continuing in academia for longer. The Masters in Research gives you the chance to do a much bigger dissertation than you'll just have completed, but can be a really nice way to keep on going in research if you want to do that. So lots of options to have a look at on the website. Bhavana, thank you very much for your question about UniCAF. Yes, the university is associated with UniCAF. It's a partnership that basically means that UniCAF, I think, is doing online teaching for students on a Masters in Public Health, and I think also our MBA as well. So if you've got any specific questions about UniCAF, you just need to contact UniCAF themselves or the partnerships team at the university. Do a wee search on our website and you'll see all the information about UniCAF and our partnerships. Lots of questions coming in, which is lovely. I do want to pop back to Nicole. Well done, Bhavana. Nice to hear you've applied for an MBA. Hopefully that all goes well for you. I have a Suffolk MBA and loved doing the MBA curriculum here. It was a really interesting course. But anyway, sorry, back to Nicole. Problem with questions coming in is it always just feels like you want to get them answered. But Nicole, so you mentioned before that obviously children's nursing is still open for clearing. What happens if a student applies through clearing for children's nursing? Because I'm assuming it's not just a kind of really quick process, that you might actually need to have a chat with students about their experience, etc. Nicole?
Yeah, so when you apply for clearing, you'll get invited to an interview. So, and in that interview invite, we'll give you some information about what is expected of you for the interview. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we've just got a bit of a delay sometimes. The
hear me?
the sound doesn't quite catch up, but yeah, you're fine. We can hear you. All right, I think I'm gonna move on if that's...
It's a bit of a weird TV program where the lips aren't meeting the screen at the moment. I do apologize. I'll try not to move too much, and then it won't make any difference.
That's fine. Tell me, Nicole, one other question then, particularly for students who are thinking about both for children's nursing this autumn, but also if they're going to apply for it next year. I think a lot of young people in particular might be concerned that they won't have had a chance to get much in the way of experience. And Marianne, I'll probably come to you for this as well, because similarly, students looking at education courses might ideally want to have some relevant work experience. It's fair to say it's been difficult for anybody to go anywhere in the last year and a half, so getting relevant experience will have been quite difficult. Nicole, is there anything that you can say around that for prospective children's nursing students?
Yeah, I mean, really think about those transferable skills that you have taken on over the years, things like communication, things like time working, team working, all those those transferable skills that you can bring to a role for children's nursing is really, really important, and something that can really help you to talk about and to talk positively about yourself at interview is really, really fantastic.
Great, thank you. Mariana, what about students who are looking at childhood courses?
So for the BA childhood, any relevant experiences is great, but you don't really need to have any relevant experience, as we have quite a lot of practice opportunities within the BA childhood course. For the BA childhood primary education with QTS, it is really nice to have if there is some relevant experience. So actually, a lot of times applicants don't really think about some experience that they might have had in terms of any interaction they've had with children, maybe as part of brownies or rainbows, or even homeschooling children or supporting nieces and nephews with their homework. And that's still really a relevant experience to include and mention. So any interaction we had with children in terms of supporting them and interaction we had is still relevant. So have a think about your overall experience as well.
Cool, thank you. Elliot, I'm sure that students who are looking at courses through clearing, particularly if it's quite a late decision to come to university, so those who are kind of making quite quick decisions on subjects, or mature students coming back to uni, back into education, there's always that worry about choosing the right course and if you're going to be all right for 3 years. How did you choose to do your course? What was it you were looking for?
So when I first applied, I didn't like psychology. I did it in high school, and I think I just didn't like the professor. So I didn't like it the way it was taught to me, but I really enjoyed certain aspects of psychology, like different theories, how do people behave and act in certain situations. So I knew that I wanted to know more about that. So I think like a good idea whenever you're deciding on a course is to think, would I like doing this and learning more about this in the future as well? So not just on a short time period. So like in the long term, basically. And I applied because I looked over the modules. So it's always a good idea to look over on our website, for example. We have a lot of information about the different modules that you will be taught, assessments, and if you're going to write essays, if you're going to do like group presentations, that sort of thing. So it's always good to have a look. And I just knew like from the first week when the lecturer started, teaching psychology, basically, I knew that I really enjoyed it, and I knew that I'm gonna enjoy it for the next 3 years. So that was kind of the point where I knew that I chose the right course.
That's pretty brave to go for something when you weren't really sure if you liked it at school.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a risk, but I think in retrospect, I think it was a risk worth taking.
And Elliot, you came over from Romania for university, so in
Yeah.
theory you could have gone literally anywhere and to any university. Why did you choose to come to Suffolk?
So I knew that I wanted to study in England. I had no idea where. So I think there are like more than 140 universities in the whole UK. So yeah, it was definitely a challenge to try and find one. One of my career advisors actually recommended me this university just because it was smaller than the other ones, and I feel like if I would have been like in a more like in a larger university, I think I would definitely would have learned and developed as a human, but the relationship that you have and the support that you have by the lecturers and by the staff is really uncomparable, I would say, just because I knew that if I had like any problems with my course or with assignments, or if I didn't understand something, I knew that I could email my lecturer and they would be more than happy to guide me and help me. So that was also an aspect that I took into consideration. And also the view of the marina, like it's so amazing here during the summer, and yeah, it's just a beautiful place to just walk around and enjoy the sun, really.
Great, thanks, Elliot. It's an interesting one, isn't it? We often talk about the University of Suffolk as being one of the kind of smaller universities, but we've got 5,000 students, so we're not overly small. But I think a lot of our students kind of are very aware that, where you could go into a lecture theatre here of maybe 40 or 50 students, or 250, I think, is our biggest lecture theatre. Other universities might have 500 as a standard lecture theatre, and that is quite a big difference. Mariana, the social sciences are probably some of our larger groups at times. What kind of numbers would you tend to have in a class for the students that are on the different modules? So kind of bearing in mind that they'll do some psychology modules and, etc. But what kind of numbers would be in the childhood courses?
Thank you. Very good question. So in the kind of larger modules that all students will need to kind of take, I think the maximum we can potentially have is like 70, 80 students. I know the BSc in psychology could have a lot more. But yeah, I think for the childhood courses, for the big mandatory modules like safeguarding and research methods, are the ones that are kind of in the range of 70s to 80s. I had definitely had modules, especially the practice ones, where I've had 5 students. So I think that has been the smallest group that I have had. And it works really nicely in terms of discussions, but it also works well with bigger groups. But I think on average, we'll have at least roughly around 20 to 25 students for the optional modules.
And I take it, you teach on the course, you look at other similar courses around the country. What's your sense in terms of the breadth of modules that we're offering across our course compared to some of the other universities? Because I think it's easy for people to assume that in one of the smaller universities, there might not be quite as much choice over what you study on the course.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question, and it makes sense that people would think that, and it's actually not really the case. We still have a really wide range of modules that we offer, primarily because we are a relatively large team and lots of experts in a variety of different areas, and we'll all collaborate. And we'll also collaborate with other members of staff within social sciences and humanities for different modules, which is very exciting. So in terms of the different range of modules, we definitely customize those from our experience with previous years with students at the University of Suffolk. And what is interesting, we try to include topics that tend to be not so looked at potentially in bigger universities. For example, we're really excited to have a module on decolonization and difference as part of our BA childhood. So really focusing on decolonization, which is probably not something that maybe bigger universities or older universities might have the opportunity to, restructure and include as part of their module. So yeah, we're quite excited to have, and we're really happy to bring lots of new ideas, especially this year with our restructure of our courses. So yeah.
I think, Elliot said earlier about the importance of looking at modules, and it's one of those things, isn't it? Every university might offer a course with the same name, but the difference is in the detail. And depending on, the people who teach on a course, their research interests and everything, it changes courses quite dramatically from one university to another. And that's got to be one of the key selling points for, particularly in social sciences, I think, where there can be really broad options. But I know similarly in our business school, for example, that we've got some really interesting modules that isn't always taught in other universities. So it's really important to get into the detail. Stacey's asked us a question about having just completed a certificate of education, so asking about crossing over credits. Stacey, you'll need to speak to the admissions team about any kind of transferring of credits, which I think then they discuss with academics. But Dinah, is there anything, is that all right as an answer?
Yeah, so we can certainly process applications. We call it RPAL, which is recognition of prior learning. So as the academic will have a look at your prior learning to make sure it maps against our own modules, and if it can, then the potential is there to offer you advanced entry, so in your case year 2 entry. But yes, get in touch with us to make an application through Clearing if you haven't already, and then we'll be advising you at that point exactly what documents we need you to send.
Thanks, Diana. It sounds like Stacey's already got a place. She was saying earlier that she's going to be a new first-year student, so it'll be useful for you to get in touch with us, Stacey, to have a chat about your specific circumstances. Nicole, as we have been having a bit of problems with sound, so we'll give this a go. We're talking with Mariana there about the size of the classes in the childhood courses. What kind of numbers do you tend to have in children's nursing?
Right, hopefully there might be a bit less of a delay, I'm not sure, we'll see. So in terms of children's nursing, we tend to have a cohort of 20 per year. And as Diana said at the beginning, we are obviously managed by how many we can take in from placement. So the placement's very much dictate is the wrong word. It is obviously we are having those discussions regularly, and they tell us how many students they can take, and then that is where we go from there. And one of the reasons why children's nursing has a smaller intake is because there are obviously smaller placement areas, whereas adult nursing has masses of wards and loads of places where their students can go. So each hospital can take a much larger group of adult nursing students, whereas we are a little bit more controlled, as it were, because obviously for children. So at the moment we're at 20. Obviously watch this space where that might go up over the years. That is constantly reviewed, and that is across a number of different cohorts. So at the University of Suffolk we take students, sorry, not cohorts, that's the wrong word, placement areas. So we take students into hospitals in Ipswich, in Colchester, which is under one trust now, under ESNEF as the trust. And then we also take James Paget students as well. And then we'll take students from Bury Hospital, which is also known as West Suffolk. And they are the students that we have within our area.
Great, thanks, Nicole. And how would you suggest that students for your course prepare over the next month or so for getting started? Do they need to be doing lots of reading and things in preparation?
To be honest, I think one of the biggest things that we find probably across cohorts, I'm sure Marianne might agree with this, in terms of our pre-reg students, is that university learning and university writing especially is very, very different from perhaps anything you've done before. So yes, please do read up about children's nursing, and please do read up about the course, and update your A&P, anatomy and physiology and all those kind of things. But actually looking into how we write things differently at university level, thinking about referencing, all those kind of things is one aspect that is actually really, really different for a lot of our students, and something that in that first year can be really hard to get your head around if you haven't done that before. So do read up, do look at things like the Royal College of Nursing website and the Nursing Midwifery Council, as well as looking at specific children's links like the Royal College of Child and Paediatric Child Health. But also do look at how things are done at university, because it is really, really different. And I can see Stacey's put a comment in there about referencing with her. And you know what? I've been within the university system, have done several postgraduates, and I'm still thinking to myself, I'm starting my master's this year, and I'm thinking, referencing, oh my goodness, because it is the bane of all of our lives. So I know we all feel the same pain. So do look at that as an idea of how we do things differently at university.
I'm just going to note that I'm there too. I'm halfway through a PhD at the university, so I'm doing that part-time. And I was on the library chat the other day asking for help with referencing. It's just some of these things are a challenge, but we're all in it together, aren't we?
We are.
Nicole, just a note on the facilities, because obviously you talked about placements. So how does it work for children's nursing students? How much are they on placement, and what kind of facilities have we got on campus here for their learning before they go, or kind of alongside their placement?
Okay, so every year you will have 2 placements a year. In the first year, the first placement starts in February. So obviously you would start your course in September and you would go out into placement in February. So it gives you a nice kind of block of theory before you go into the placement, to give you an idea of what would be expected of you and all those kind of things. On campus, we are really lucky. We have a great skills lab. And we have technicians that support us in our teaching within the skills lab, and so we do use various scenarios, and we have obviously mannequins and pieces of equipment that we work to simulate that environment as much as we can, so that we can prepare our students for going out into practice. Obviously, nothing is quite like a real child, but we practice, and we can facilitate things as much as possible.
I have a 2-year-old, and nothing is like a real child. I couldn't agree more. Mariana, the childhood with QTS, you were talking before about it being this kind of accelerated route, if you like, into teaching without having to do a bachelor and then the postgrad. Are there placements involved on that course in order for that kind of teacher training to happen?
Yeah, very good question. So the short answer is yes. So in the first year, students on the BA Childhood Primary Education with QTS will be having 1 day a week of placement throughout the year, and every week. And then at the end, they will have 4 weeks of block placement. And then in the second year, we'll continue again with 1 day a week of year-long placement, along as with a larger block of 8 weeks of block placement at the end. And then in the third year, again, continuing with year-long placement, and then 10 weeks of block placement at the end. So the block placement will continue to increase, so that students can get more and more continuous experience of being in the classroom and teaching independently. So obviously in the first year, there's quite a lot of observations and short independent tasks and teaching, while moving slowly up to independent teaching of a whole class of children for a whole week and multiple weeks, as it would be for postgraduate teacher training. So
So do they experience different year groups? Because there must be a massive difference between teaching a year 1 group and a year 6.
Very good question. So throughout the different placement, students will have at least 2 different schools that they will go for their placement, and we'll try to put them in different groups, starting from early years to Key Stage 1, which is year 1 and year 2, and then Key Stage 2, year 3 to year 6. So they'll get throughout the different placements from the year-long placement and their block placement. They'll have the opportunity to essentially have placement in all year groups. So they get to experience and get some experience in the different year groups to see what they like as well, and to also see the differences between teaching a reception class and a year 2 class and a year 4 class and a year 6. So yeah, because they are indeed very different in terms of the curriculum, but also how children respond and what language we're using to teach them. So yeah.
Excellent. We've had a really great question from Stacey about so in order to do the childhood with QTS, you have to have GCSE Maths and English at grade
and
C
science
or above, and science at grade C or grade 4 or above. And if you don't have that, obviously you can't go straight onto the QTS course. Stacey's asking if doing a childhood studies course without QTS would still give her the opportunity to go into teaching later.
Yeah, very good question. So yeah, definitely. Usually 3 years of an undergraduate degree and additional year of teacher training is the standard way that most people would train for teacher training. The primary education with QTS is almost the outlier with doing it in 3 years. So definitely you'll have exactly the same opportunities, and sometimes you think even more, because you get full 3 years where you get to experience and get some volunteering experience, so within the practice modules that we have, so within the BA childhood, and learn about topics that, explore other topics that you might be interested in. That's not only about teaching and education. So by the end of the degree, if at the beginning, if you're definitely sure that this is something you would like to do, so you can follow the education pathway, which would give you a very similar opportunities in terms of practice and placement and experience in schools working with children, which will prepare you very well for teacher training after you graduate. So yes.
Great. But what happens if someone does a childhood course and doesn't want to be a teacher at the end? What other things could a childhood studies graduate go into?
Yeah. So with our childhood course, primarily because we have the different pathways, we have students who might be interested in working with children with disabilities, or as Elliot mentioned, aspects around mental health. So children's mental health is an area that they would like to focus on. So our students have gone on to work as family support workers, but have gone on to continue with postgraduate studies in social work and counselling to particularly work with children in those areas. So that's one aspect. The other aspect around the society and welfare path is welfare. So a lot of support, one with social work. Play therapist is also another really interesting area. Charity work. So essentially anything that children are involved in, supporting children in SEN schools. And sometimes students are thinking about children with special education needs and disabilities, but they don't want to become teachers in mainstream schools, but that is also another option. So yeah, and those only are just a few of them. So there's lots and lots of different options.
Great, thanks, Mariana.
No problem.
Diana, I'd just like to come back to you, since part of obviously what we're talking about is the whole clearing thing and making late applications and things. And obviously we know that GCSE results will be coming out tomorrow, so some of our applicants will be holding offers that still require their GCSE results. What happens for students who are still getting results? How do they tell us?
Okay, so there are obviously UCAS advise us of a lot of examination results such as A-levels, BTEC, UAL diplomas, etc. GCSE results don't come through UCAS, so if part of your offer was to obtain GCSE or several, you will need to send your results slip in to us tomorrow. So you can give us a call if you've got any queries, but just email admissions@urs.ac.uk. And as soon as we see that come in, we can process, hopefully, your offer to unconditional as soon as possible. But if you've got any questions at all, just give us a call. There are certain courses where we know that you're still waiting for level 3 results. Some access to higher education diploma results are sometimes a bit delayed, but don't worry, you're still holding your offer in that case, and it's just a matter of just letting us know your results as soon as you get them.
Great. And if somebody sends an email in, how quickly does it tend to all happen? So they send their results, then how soon would they potentially see that everything's been updated and their place is confirmed?
Yeah, so obviously, bear with us. It is obviously a very busy time of year, but we do have a wider team this time of year helping us out. Elliot and his fellow ambassadors doing a fabulous job on the emails. If you have sent something in and you just want to check we've received it and get an update, give us a call. We're on the phone. We're doing some extended hours at the moment as well, so we're working beyond our normal sort of 5 o'clock. Give us a call as soon as we can. We have checked your qualifications and you've met your requirements, and we can update your offer to unconditional. That's done the same day, hopefully, and that feeds through to UCAS Track. There are several feeds between our system and UCAS's throughout the day, so 24 hours maximum of us processing that offer. You should be able to see that in your track.
Great, thanks, Dinah. You mentioned giving us a call, so of course I'm going to quickly give some phone numbers and we'll stick it in the chat as well. So the clearing hotline is 01473 338 352. We do have an open day on Saturday, so we're open 10 till 2 on the Ipswich campus. So just come to the waterfront building and we've got academics across all of our course areas. We'll have the admissions team here, information about accommodation and finance as well. Dinah, if people want to bring in copies of certificates and stuff on Saturday, is that okay?
So yes, they can get scanned in by our colleagues in the student centre, and they'll be able to forward those via email to us for Monday morning. So certainly, if you're able to do that, and we are helping waiting for your certificates. We don't have to see your originals, so you can just scan them as an attachment to an email, either as a scanned copy or a clear photograph. If you can't bring the originals in, so that's fine.
Great, thanks, Dinah. Star has asked us a question. She said she's enrolled today and she's having trouble locating the parking permits. First of all, well done, Star. Massive brownie points for you for enrolling today on the first day that enrolment is opened. If you go on to My Suffolk, you should see an announcement for the parking permits as one of the pieces of information that's scrolling along the top of My Suffolk. You just log on to My Suffolk using your student number and your password. If it's not there, if it's not clear, just do a search on My Suffolk for parking permits and it'll come up. I literally did it yesterday, so you will see it on there. Remember, you have to, you're supposed to print out your parking permit, but it's kind of a two-pronged attack, if you like. You have to be on the system in order to use the university car parks, because it's automatic number plate recognition. But you're also supposed to have a printed copy on your dashboard as well, just for a visual check. So it's important to make sure you apply for it and then print it out as well. But thank you for the question. These are the kind of things that do make a difference with getting started at university and feeling like you know what you're going to be doing. We have a wonderful question from Craig, who's going to be 43 next month. Congratulations, Craig. And you're asking about whether you're going to be too old to come to university. You've got a passion for nature and wildlife. You're never too old to go to university, first of all. One of the great things about university, and it's here, but it's everywhere, is that universities are not just for school leavers. So we all benefit from real broad range of students in the classrooms. If every classroom only had 19-year-olds school and college leavers, it would get a little bit boring in terms of the discussion that you're having about what you're learning. So we tend to have a really broad range of students in our classes with range of ages, range of experience, and that's all part of learning. You said you're interested in nature and wildlife, so I guess the key one I would suggest would be looking at the BSc Wildlife Ecology and Conservation Science, which is an amazing course. We've got some fantastic lecturers on that course with incredible experience working within that world. So if you just have a wee look on our website at that course, you'll see all about it. You can contact the course team directly. The contact details are on the website. But the best thing to do actually is to give us a call on the clearing hotline, and we will put you in touch with one of the academics who's around at the moment from the course, and they can have a chat with you. As I said a few minutes ago, we're open on Saturday between 10 and 2. We'll have people here from all of our course areas. We'll also be able to show some of the specialist facilities as well. So you're very welcome to pop in on Saturday, whether you've already applied or whether you want to apply on Saturday or just want to get some information to decide if you want to apply. Have a wee chat with the academics, have a look around the campus, etc. And then you guys can decide what you want to do next. But that's a great question, Craig. Thank you very much. And our lovely colleagues from the university's social media department are reminding us in the comments about following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn and TikTok. Lots of places to find out more about the university. Please follow us because you'll see lots of great content about studying at the university. And we've got quite a fun competition going on Facebook and Twitter where you can win some Apple AirPods. So have a wee look at all of that. We've only got 10 minutes left, so I'd really like to come back to Elliot just to kind of find out, Elliot, from you about the social experience, because you know Ipswich is a town, it's not a city. You get a different student experience wherever you go in the country, whether you're on a campus, whether you're in a city, an edge of a town, in a town. Tell us what the social experience has been like for you studying in Ipswich over the last 3 years.
So, as you said, Ipswich is a town and not a city, but I did find everything that I needed here in terms of shopping, groceries, social places to hang out. So you do have everything that you need here. You're not in the middle of nowhere. And also during Freshers Week, the university organizes different events. So we do have the normal like pub crawls and clubbing and everything, but we also have some chill events as well. So maybe comedy nights or 5 o'clock tea or international food night. And it's a really great way to get to meet other people, not just from your own course. And that is how I met like most of my friends. So I have friends who are doing photography or cybersecurity, so a lot of different subject areas. And yeah, I didn't really feel like I didn't have like a place to go to if I ever needed like a coffee or something to eat or drink.
Great. And what about the kind of support side of things? How did you find the academic and study support while you were here?
So, like I said, the lectures were a big help. Like, I don't think I would have gotten through my third year without them, just because I had my final year project, I had my dissertation going on. So, if I ever like panicked and I needed, some reassurance that I was I was doing the good thing, I would just like email my lecturers and be like, "Yeah, you're doing fine, you're doing fine." So that was definitely great. We also have our student services as well, so they do offer additional support and help during exams or in the lectures if you have a learning disability such as dyslexia or dyspraxia, and they're always there for you to contact them. They can offer advice about anything that's been bothering you, whether that's something that has to do with the academic side of it, or just personal issues. So they're always trying to be there and to make sure that you're okay and that you have the support you need if you need it.
Great. And the library, I feel like I've got to ask about the library because, universities have always had massive library buildings. We've got big library buildings. Do students still use physical books, or were you an ebook kind of student?
I would say I use both. During my first and second year, I would use physical copies of the books. Sometimes you wouldn't be able to get a copy just because a lot of students were trying to get the same book at the same time. But the good thing is that most of the books have a digital copy as well, so you're not left without a book, which is great to know. But yeah, in my third year, obviously, because I had to stay home, I would just rely on EPUBs or like online articles and everything like that. But obviously, we have a good mix. You can even request a book or an article if you haven't found it in our library, and the guys from the library services will be doing their best to try and provide you with a copy. So that's always good to know. And yeah, it's a mix really.
Cool. Thanks, Elliot.
No worries.
I'm aware that we've got to about 54 minutes without mentioning that whole kind of what the learning experience is going to be like next year. So I think I'm going to come to Mariana for some thoughts on that, and then we will start to finish up because I don't want to keep us past our time. So Mariana, obviously last year everything went online. Before that, everything was very physical. What's the teaching and learning experience going to be like come September?
Excellent question. So for the childhood courses, we will be going with the full campus experience, along with quite a lot of very interesting online activities. So for example, for our first year students, they will have 3 days a week. We're teaching modules in blocks. So students won't have multiple modules at the same time, just one module every block of 5 weeks. So you're just doing one module for 5 weeks, then that's all done. You've submitted your assignment on the 5th week, then the second module. So that helps very much with time management and keeping focused on one module at a time. So for the first year students, they will have roughly 3 days a week on campus for each block, for each week. And we're really excited to use the OWL system where we're planning on each lecture in each campus session to be either recorded or live streamed. So if students cannot attend one of the sessions for any reason, they'll be able to still access it even if they can't be on campus for 1 or 2 days or for any reason. That's kind of our structure for our second and third year students as well. So and we're really happy to also include quite a lot of online activities for students to complete independently on their own time, which works really well for all students, whether they are mature students with families that they would like to complete some learning in the evenings while the children are asleep, or students who are in accommodation and, maybe you come back from a party at 2 a.m, you'd like to do some reading. You can also do that.
Sounds very plausible, and I think that's the plan across the whole university. Is we're going to be certainly going back to physical teaching on campus again, but taking advantage of all of the amazing opportunities that comes through virtual kind of engagement as well. So we've now got about 2 minutes till we need to finish. So I'm going to come to each of you in turn for a top tip for students, excuse me, in terms of preparing for starting university this autumn. Dinah, would you like to start?
I would just say from an admissions perspective, just make sure that you're keeping in touch with us if we're still waiting for documents from you, and that you keep an eye out for that lovely enrolment email, pop it into your inbox and follow the instructions so that you're enrolled, and that way you'll be all ready for the start of the course because you'll have all the information you need at your fingertips.
Excellent, good advice. Thanks, Dinah. Nicole, would you like to go next?
So my piece of advice would be to just remember to enjoy that first couple of weeks. It's really terrifying. I still remember it. It was many years ago myself, but do enjoy Freshers Week and do make loads of friends. People you meet at university will remain friends with you for the rest of your life. Don't put too much pressure on it. The person you sit next to might not be your best friend for the rest of your life, like some people say, but do really enjoy it because actually you won't really get that time back, and it is definitely worth having some fun and potentially for some a bit of freedom, whether you're studying from home or not.
Thanks, Nicole. Okay, in our last minute, quick tip from Mariana, please.
My very quick tip for preparing is to follow us on social media, especially if you are on a specific course. Do follow us. As a social media champion myself for the childhood and education courses, I tend to be very active on our social media. So we share lots of events, training sessions that we're doing, as well as any competitions like the one we're running at the moment. So follow us on social media.
Thanks, Mariana. And Elliot, lastly?
I think my top tip would be wait until you get here, in terms of even the accommodation, and don't bring like extra things. For example, I remember that I think 2 years ago, most of us brought kettles or like toasty makers with us, and we ended up with like 5 instead of 1. So it's definitely good to wait a bit, maybe meet your the people you're going to be staying with and decide like how many kilos do you want in the flat and everything. And that also goes a long way for books as well. So don't go buying uh, a lot of books and then seeing that you're only gonna open one, or like just read a short paragraph and then you're never gonna open that book again. So definitely wait until the start of the course.
Great. Those are brilliant tips, Elliot. Thank you. I love the thought of 5 kettles in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, that's us finished for now. Thank you, everybody, for all of your questions. Please remember to follow us on all the different social media channels. Come and see us when we're open on Saturday between 10 and 2. But if you can't come on Saturday and you'd like to come and see us, just get in touch and we will arrange a visit for you. Thank you again for watching. Keep in touch with us. Give us a call. We're quite a friendly bunch. So if you need anything at all, you know where we are. Good luck, everyone. Bye.